Afrinection family! Welcome back to another installment in our interview series. I'm your host, Dana Campbell, and tonight we will be speaking with Abdou Sarr, the co-creator of the Film 3D app, which currently has 3.5 million users. Abdou, whenever you're ready, we'll request to come up.
Awesome.
Hi!
Hey, how are you?
Good, how are you?
Very good, very good. How's the connection?
It's good, I think we're on time.
Awesome. Let's do this.
Thank you so much for agreeing to do this interview. I'm super excited to talk to you and learn a bit more about your journey.
For sure.
Can you please start by giving us a brief history, I guess maybe the past 5 to 10 years?
Okay.
Cool. Where did you grow up?
Yeah, okay, so I guess the longer history really, forms around, I grew up here in Ottawa, so I've been here like essentially my entire life. And just really started getting into tech probably around, I don't know, probably even as early as like elementary school. So like I was always that kid that would be hacking on the computers and kind of just always tinkering around, staying after class, just keep playing on them. And it kind of just sparked up that interest in software. And then as I got into middle school, started refining that more. Everyone got into this game called Minecraft, then started making various servers as well as plugins for that. So really just enhancing our own gaming experience by customizing the game ourselves. And that really just led into the coding side of things. And then finally at high school, I decided to take it up one more notch by getting into app development. And through there, I was able to really start learning more of the business aspects of it and just started building out various applications. And then my first actual release on the App Store was this app called Celestial. So that was a relaxation app. And that allowed people to go in, select a different frequency that they wanted to relax to, and then start relaxing within that app. And that one was actually pretty interesting because I just expected my friends and family to download it. But then through there, it just ended up going viral on the App Store. Snoop Dogg ended up giving it a shout out, and that kind of just really skyrocketed my interest into apps and knowing that like that was what I was supposed to be doing.
Amazing. What sparked my interest to ask you to do this interview is you posted something on your story that was so funny. You had said that you had spent, I think it was about 20 Bitcoin on a book that
Oh,
taught
that was
you
pretty cool.
how to program.
Yeah, that was definitely painful, but definitely very, very much worth it. That book, I believe that was Life Hacked by Alan Wong. That was a really good book just because it kind of talked about the idea of how apps are so powerful in the sense that you can really just start off with one laptop and then be able to deploy something that, you know, goes beyond that original circle of people that you wanted to go out to, beyond that group of, you know, 5, 10 friends, and could accidentally go to a million people or even more than that. And that was just a really powerful thing to read about in terms of not only just the scope of where apps could go, but then also just the various applications of them and the impact that they have. So in his case, I believe he was working on a police radar. So this was like before the Citizen app came out. And he was able to provide people with the ability to go in and see what was happening in their neighborhood once they saw something going on and get that information. That was just all built by him on his laptop. So that was really cool to read about.
Tell us about how the ideas for Film 3D app came about.
For sure. So Mo's my co-founder at MODU. And so we actually went to the same high school together, but it was really interesting, like the most Canadian way possible of like how we really started talking about what we were both doing was in the rugby off season. We were both on the curling team. So that was super interesting because we weren't very good at curling, even though we made it pretty far. But we just started talking more about our actual respective careers. So I started learning more about what he was doing with photography. He started learning more about what I was doing with apps. And then at that point, we knew that we were going to work with each other at some point. But it wasn't at that time yet. And then once we got into university, we started having more and more conversations. And then the real spark around the idea of 3D photos and 3D technology really came around the idea of a shift that we both noticed in the market with the sense of people are getting way more immersed. Our media networks are much faster now. We used to take, taking a Polaroid and then mailing it to someone is now just being able to go onto your device and then instantly share your world with someone else all the way across the world in a matter of seconds. And just also the technology as well. Our cameras are more powerful, as well as the capabilities of our devices are so much better. And as everyone knows, we're heading towards a much more augmented reality future. So Mo and I really started compiling around all these thoughts, and we started realizing that there's a huge gap in terms of our media. It's that it doesn't really reflect the world that we live in, which is that, you know, we have this amazing 3D world. We look around us, we see everything in 3D, we experience everything in 3D, but then we go and we trap it into this, 2D plane of a device. We really take out a lot of that information, a lot of that feeling in terms of what you can get out of it and out of capturing those moments. And so we decided to start exploring 3D. So it started off with looking at, just for ourselves, getting this camera that would allow us to capture in 3D. And it was this super retro camera from the 1980s that had 4 lenses on it. So imagine like something like this, for example, but just like times 4. And what that allowed it to do is that it could actually go and then capture 4 frames, which you would then edit together to look 3D. And that was actually a super complicated process. You had to go and buy film for it, put it into Photoshop, etc., and just too much work for the average creator. So we decided that, it was actually funny how it happened, because we actually ended up meeting at our university library, and Mo actually forgot his camera, so then we had to use an iPhone to try and take these 3D photos instead of using the camera. And that's where we learned that if we can do this on a device ourselves, why not just make it into a software that everyone else can use?
Wow. I'm not sure if you can simplify how this software works at all.
For sure. So essentially the solution that we came up with is this app called Film 3D. So currently what it's able to do is that you go into your phone, you download Film 3D, and then you just move your phone ever so slightly, and it's able to capture a sequence of 3D photos. And 3D photos in the meaning of you're able to explore around the image, you're able to see different angles of it, but it almost seems frozen in time, which is a really cool effect to it.
Tell us about a challenge you faced in the last 5 years.
For sure. So definitely the biggest challenge, especially with Mo and I being so young, as well as being very diverse, is that there's definitely a lot of doubt always in terms of just whenever we're pitching ideas. Even at first when we were originally pitching the concept for the app, we were trying to go about the traditional route of, raising the funding at first and then going and building it. But then we decided that, it was too much of a process. There was too much doubt at the start of it. So we decided to go and tackle it ourselves. So we bootstrapped it, which means that we self-funded it at first, and then we were able to just start building out the app and then released it out ourselves. And that was just a really key process in terms of overcoming that challenge, overcoming that doubt, and then just really going at it ourselves. And then that's how we were able to get where we are today.
You mentioned to me that you are in the midst of another launch. Can you tell us about that?
For sure. So really playing along that theme of we want to make everyone's media 3D. We want to really bridge that gap between our media and the world around us that we're capturing it in. And that app, Film 3D, really just progresses that mission. So right now, inside the app, you have to move your phone to capture that 3D image. And that's been the way that's worked for this entire time. So over the last 2 or 3 years, it's just been moving your phone to capture those 3D images. And then once you get that 3D image, you don't have much that you can really do with it in terms of changing the different outlooks. Like we pre-program all of that for you. And that's where this new app really differs on everything. So without revealing too much about it, you can actually really just take one photo, whether it was taken today inside that app or whether it's taken 100 years ago. You'll be able to bring it into Film 3D version 3, and it'll turn it into a 3D photo. And then there's a lot of cool things we're bringing to that. So brand new ways of applying effects to that, and etc.
That's amazing. Can you please tell us, because this is Afrinection, piece by piece through all of these interviews, we're trying to solve the idea of how to rebuild Africa's economic infrastructure. So from your perspective, what is the key missing element in rebuilding Africa's economic infrastructure?
For sure. I wouldn't even say that this one's like missing, but this is just one that's always a way to supercharge any sort of economy, is that you really need high-speed internet connections. So I think new innovations, especially with what Elon is doing with Starlink, is going to be really exciting, just because when you're able to essentially map the entire globe, bring the entire globe high-speed internet connection, then you really create new opportunities. Then anyone anywhere with a device, anyone anywhere with a device can go in and actually just start working from there. Whether it's working in tech, whether it's working on commerce, whether it's launching their own brand for something that they're building locally. It's just really exciting in terms of all the possibilities that you get once you have that access to the internet.
Amazing. I like that answer. There's been so many different interesting answers that definitely contribute to what can be done, but I believe that very much so to be true. Even like myself and thinking about going to Africa, concerns about like consistent internet connection for work purposes is like definitely up there, depending on where you want to go. Where in Africa is your family from?
So my family's from Senegal, West Africa.
Amazing.
Which is always nice to say these days because we just won the African Cup of Nations.
Amazing. So, what was your parents, I don't know, what were their thoughts when you had brought this idea to them and told them like what you were doing? Did they understand? Were they like,
I mean, you know, probably the best in terms of African parents are always like very results driven. Like school and everything is very, very important in terms of being able to get that higher education. That's the reason why a lot of our families even come here is that they want to give us the best opportunity to become the most successful that we can be. But yeah, so definitely it was a higher, like uphill battle to convince them, you know, here's this very different path from like taking that original path. But luckily, I've been able to find a way to make it work in terms of just showing those results, showing that this is something that you know I can learn a lot more from, and really learn even sometimes more than what I've learned in university. And it's been really exciting just to work on it and seeing like their reactions and their embracement of it over the last few years.
who was your biggest inspiration growing up?
That's a very, very good question. It sounds extremely cliche. I guess I'll give two. I guess one, Steve Jobs, but then two, also extremely cliche, definitely my dad. So I believe that like the way that you interact with the, especially with STEM, the way that you interact with STEM while you're a child is always very, very interesting in terms of like your interest in it while you're an adult. And with my dad, he's also a scientist himself. So getting that, you know, constant exposure to just always working on different projects on the weekend with him and just really getting access to his knowledge was just super, very, very impactful in terms of my career.
Amazing. I like that. That's very sweet. What kind of scientist is your dad?
So he's the doctor, sorry, he's a doctor of toxicology.
What advice do you have for people who are interested in creating their own application?
For sure. So the number one advice that I think Mo and I always love to give, I think I even saw Mo in here just a couple seconds ago, is you really just have to start. Like there's always so much, especially nowadays, I feel like there's so much noise around the planning aspects of it. So you want to go in, you want to write out the full business plan, you want to write out the different strategies, you want to start incorporating things like sprints and et cetera into your process for building out the app. And I find that all of those, especially just when it's at the starting stages, very much detract from you know, just really getting it out there. Because as soon as you get it out there, as soon as you get that MVP out there, especially in its first versions, is when you're able to just start getting that data. You don't have to really do as many predictions yourself. You don't have to do as much market research. If you can really just go fast at the beginning and then say, okay, here's what we're building out, and then here's what the users think about the original product, and then here's what we can keep deploying out. And that really worked well for us in terms of Mo and I back in 2018. End of 2018 was when we first launched out Film 3D. And yes, we just went super fast on it. We were like, let's build something, let's get it out there. And then from that original launch stage, we were able to get so much more learnings out of it. And then now we can go and do all the formal business processes, the sprints, et cetera. Because now we have that luxury of having all of that data of what do people like, what do people not like, what do they want to see out of a platform like this, and what do they expect from the future of this.
Amazing. We are currently in the era of the metaverse and Web3. So, how do you see Film 3D fitting into cryptocurrency, NFTs?
For sure. It's always an interesting topic because, especially with something like that, where it's very, very mentioned, everyone every single day is talking about the metaverse. We always love to look at, you know, what's applicable to us. Like, what can we really turn to a solution that's, you know, really useful for people? Because whenever we want to release something, we want to make sure that it actually has use and we're not just, you know, putting it in there for like the cloud or anything like that. So with the metaverse, we're definitely doing some research onto it. Things that get really exciting is just the pairing between 3D media and NFTs, just because a lot of the things that we're working on for the future do have to involve confirming things like ownership, seeing who owns this piece of digital asset. And I think that's going to be really exciting in terms of what we're bringing to the platform. So there's actually going to be some pretty big changes coming around, probably end of this year or so, just really involving more of that concept and really just working more on that interface between Media 3.0 and Web 3.0.
Nice. I'm not sure if you can speak on this, but how does Film 3D generate income? Does it?
Yes, so Film 3D does generate income. So we do have a freemium model inside the app. So what we're able to do there is that people can actually go in, download the app for free today. And that's not changing even with the next version, is that you can still go in, download it for free, and you still have that entire flow. You can go in, capture a 3D photo, apply your filters to it, etc., and export it out to your favorite social media platforms. But the way that the freemium model comes in is that when you want to do higher level effects, you want to get that deeper experience into 3D, you know, play around with the media some more, and that's when you start to go into the subscription aspect of it. So At first, we did a freemium model that was just based off like static purchases. So what that means is one-time purchases, like, oh, you just paid for this one pack, or you just paid to unlock all of the packs. But then now we're going to be doing, just because we're expanding on that vision so much more and bringing so much more functionality, especially in the next version, is really focusing on subscriptions. So you really just pay once, and then you have that entire library of effects, as well as different add-ons that you can bring to your media.
Okay. Yeah, I was curious about that. I'm always curious to find out how people go about that.
For
Guys,
sure.
ask questions.
I think I might have seen. I wonder if Mo's still in here. That was pretty funny.
Yes, he answered. It is available for download. Someone asked, what university did you go to?
I went to Carleton University here in Ottawa.
What did you study?
I studied computer science, naturally.
Okay, whoever asked it, I hope that answered your question. Do I have any more questions for you? You shared a lot. I'm like, are you interested in creating any other apps in the future that you can speak about, or do you have any other initiatives on the side that you're working on?
So definitely just full speed on MODU. So it's always interesting because people always kind of, when they see our business, they assume that's just Film 3D. But actually we formed a whole company just from day one around it, which is called MODU. So it's just the combinations of both Mo and I's names. And what that really means is that Film 3D is a starting point for us. Really see that as, this is the area we can really learn the most about bringing 3D solutions directly to the consumer and seeing what they think about it, how they interact with that kind of media, and what kind of future that media has. And we've really learned a lot over the last couple of years, and really that's why we formed MODU, is that way we can actually start developing more around that idea, and then really just releasing out more solutions. So definitely some more apps coming soon, some more products coming soon, and a lot sooner than you think.
All right. Very nice. What has been your most, I guess, maybe memorable celebrity shout out when it comes to the release of this application?
Oh, that's an interesting one. I mean, definitely, I would have to say, oh, that's a hard question. I would have to say the Kanye one was pretty cool. So like when we first launched out the app, I would say within the first 6 months of it, maybe Mo would know the timeline better. So we actually were able to work with this one photographer who actually brought the app out to Saturday Night Live when Kanye was performing on it, and was able to get some shots of Kanye, and then we were able to see him interacting with the app. So that was just honestly too cool to see in terms of just really people that like are super inspirational in terms of what they do.
Amazing. That is super cool. This will be posted later on, so I just want to know, for anybody who's going to be watching this after the fact, is there any type of creator or entrepreneur that you're trying to attract right now to work with? Do you have any asks that you'd like to
Oh, in terms of like people that we would like love to work with in the future?
Mhm.
I would just say, especially with this new update coming out, I mean, just we have a new beta that will probably be dropping soon, and just anyone who really is just focused on the new area of media, and especially with topics that you mentioned, things like metaverse and etc., is that the best feedback that we get, that we find, is from our core users themselves, the people who, not the ones that have like the 500,000, the 1 million followers, but really a lot more of those micro content creators, and people who are just super duper passionate about their specific niche of creative content, because then that just really influences our platform. It allows us to build in new tooling and new sets of features that really just allow them to keep shining within their respective craft. So that's definitely my only creative ask, is that once we drop that beta, we'd love to just see as many different fields of creativity coming together, whether you're an artist, whether you're a painter, whether you're a photographer, etc., just coming into the app and then really giving input on where do you want to see this go, because that's what's going to help us build out the best platform that we can.
Amazing. You have a question. As a CS grad and app developer, what do you think is the priority industry for your field, i.e. fintech, fashion? How does that roll into visual media and video?
For sure. So that's a really good question. In terms of the priority field for this app, and you might have to remind me on the second part of the question, but the priority field for this app, I'd definitely say started off very much in the photography, slash like niche creativity angle, especially with just the original usage of the app, which is that you had to kind of know a little bit about how the camera worked to really know how to do that movement properly inside that app. But now we're definitely expanding out much more into general creativity with the sense of the app will now work with just one photo, which is going to really change a lot of things and really decrease further barriers for people trying to get into this kind of media. And we think that it's going to start really blowing up as we get towards more immersive devices. So things like AR glasses, as well as mixed reality glasses such as VR, the Oculus, etc. Those things are really going to serve to just broaden the ecosystem of where this media can really shine.
I think you answered the question pretty good.
Awesome.
Yeah, great. Do you have any more?
This has been fun so far. I loved it.
Thank you. I'm so happy you agreed to it. Make sure I didn't miss any. Someone said new update gonna be brazy. Yes, it is.
New update will indeed be brazy.
Okay. Do you have any trips coming up involving the promotion of the app?
Yes, but I always I like hate it so much when people go like, oh, I can't say where I'm going or like what I'm working on.
I know.
Because I hate it myself, but then I have to say it like I can't say where I'm going, what I'm working on, but just know it's gonna be fun, and we have really some exciting things coming up soon, especially with the both the Metaverse angle of the app in terms of what we're working on there, and something that we're doing for that, as well as just the 3D component of it. It's really going into more of the augmented reality spectrum of where this application can have various applications.
I tried, guys. I tried.
These lips are sealed.
Good for you. Someone said, with the integration of new technology into your app, how do you balance the ambition of new ideas versus the reality of their conceptualization? Have you run into roadblocks?
That's actually, oh, I don't know who asked that. That's actually a really, really good question, just because I would say that's definitely the hardest problem, at least for me personally, is that there are so many different ideas that pop up in our sessions whenever I even get onto a phone call. It could be like 4 a.m. We'll still come up with like 10 different ideas for what we could build inside the app. And the hardest part is that essentially at this rate, since we've done so much ourselves, it's really just still been the two of us working on this company, that essentially anything is possible to us. And it's just a matter of figuring out what do we want to put time into. So when we come up with a new idea, especially with something, say like single photo 3D, would definitely be like the pinnacle of our, I guess, hardest challenge in terms of getting that into the app. Just because in the way that it's going to work, it'll be the first time that this has ever been deployed onto a mobile device. So definitely there's a lot of work there in terms of various servers coming together, various technologies inside the app, various ways to build it. And yeah, so I guess I'll wrap it up into one like clean answer, is that the hardest part about conceptualizing and then actually executing on the idea is, especially for mobile apps, making sure that it actually works and works nicely. Because you can build essentially anything, but if it takes 2 minutes to run, if it takes 5 minutes to get an image back, then people won't want to use that on their phone. So the hardest part actually is not just building it, but it's actually making sure that it's something that's fast enough and easy enough for people to use. And that's where you really get into the long parts of something, is that you can build something like, say, 3D photos. So single photo 3D probably took us maybe, I don't know, I want to say 6 months of research / development. But then the hardest part after that has been like maybe another 6 months or so of just really making sure it's fast, as well as making sure it works on every single device, and then making sure it works irrespective of what screen size you have, what language you speak, etc. It has to be very fluid across the entire platform and work globally the same for everyone. And that's been definitely the biggest challenge of any idea. So you always have to weigh it out, like not only is the idea viable, but then also what's the process for us taking this from idea to actual production ready feature.
Great answer. That question was from Salim45, by the way.
Awesome. Salim with the bangers.
Dominique asks, where do you see the evolution of wearable AR going, i.e. Google Glass versus Oculus?
For sure. I think it's going to be a really exciting next 16 months in terms of wearable AR, just because if you're not like super like deep into the tech news, there's been a huge war going on in terms of between Apple as well as Facebook, as well as Microsoft and Google, on who's going to come out on top in terms of wearable AR. And Facebook is working on their own solutions, as well as Apple. I know has like I don't know, some people have reported there's like a team of like 2,000 people alone working on their mixed reality devices, and it's just going to be really exciting in terms of what's coming out. I feel like Apple, I don't know, if I had to place a bet on it, I feel like Apple's going to release out first, like something that's like really mass consumer oriented. And whatever comes out first, much like, I don't know if you remember the Apple Watch launch, it's definitely going to be much different than what we have today in terms of the first one's going to come out. There's going to be a few early adopters of it. It's probably going to look a little bit bulky, run a little bit slow at first. But then that's the beauty of technology, is that once you have that initial product out there and you start optimizing on it, then I think maybe within the next 5 years or so, we're going to see some really exciting potential of wearable AR, where you can really just have something that's lightweight, lasts very long in terms of battery life, has great processing power, and is able to deliver on some really magical immersive experiences in our day-to-day lives.
Great answer. Okay, we're reaching the 30-minute mark. Someone asked,
Awesome.
will there be an Android Film 3D?
We always get this question, and I always say soon, but I definitely will just say for now, like, we're pretty happy on the iOS platform. We love we can build on here, and that's our, I guess, our craft right now, is that we've both worked on this platform for so long that we know the ins and outs of it. But we never say never in terms of, you might see something on Android coming out very soon from us in terms of various little subsets of our platform, but never say never.
Great answer. For anybody watching currently, we are doing these interviews for anybody within the African diaspora or who has an idea or initiative that contributes towards the African diaspora. So if you're interested in doing one of these interviews, you can hit us up afterwards also. And you will be able, if you're already on Afrinection, we have a few people who are already on here and here that I see, you can find Abdou. What is your Afrinection name?
It's just Abdou Sarr.
Abdou Sarr, there you go. You can connect with him on there. Someone said, if crypto is similar to the .com bubble, do you think it will be accessible for the average person in 2 to 3 years?
Definitely. I could definitely see it. I don't know, like, I think definitely we're gonna start heading more away from bubbles, because the .com bubble, I would say, definitely had a lot of large impact on various industries. And I guess it's the one part about just like learning and overcoming from those things, is that they're really starting to put more processes in place that, even though things are looking crazy right now with like some companies raising like $100 million with their first raise and etc., then it starts to look very much like a bubble. But I think the market will definitely just even itself out. And in terms of crypto accessibility, I think the biggest key there is the middleware. So for people that don't know, there's different sides to I guess when a new technology comes out, there's different layers of a platform there. So you have the really core platforms. That's the really crazy mathematical complex crypto, things like the blockchain, things like identity verification, things like different token technologies. Then you have things like middleware. So middleware, actually, I guess I'll go like one layer above middleware, and you have things that are like the front end. So those are the ways that you access these different technologies. I think middleware, which is the kind of the connection between all of these really complex technologies and then the easy to use front-facing ways that we see them and experience them on the internet. Those are going to be the technologies that really just make it more accessible, especially as we start seeing more deployments throughout different platforms. Obviously, you've seen kind of the early examples of it, where more gaming companies are now starting to incorporate technologies like NFTs and et cetera into their platforms. But then also, I think it just really starts expanding more, and technologies like that really become useful when we start having more application within day-to-day life. So I think we're going to start seeing some really exciting things there. It could be something as simple as like, oh, you have a blank sweater you can start applying different patterns to. And I think AR glasses are really going to take that up a notch, because you can't really do too much just through always having to open up an app and then always having to point the camera at something. But if you have AR glasses and everything's running automatically, then I think that really just opens up a whole new world of what's possible with these devices and with these different technologies like crypto.
Great answer. Great answer. We're at the 30-minute mark, so I'm gonna cut us off here. I'm gonna thank you so
Awesome.
much.
Well, I've had a lot of fun.
I want to thank you so much for agreeing to this interview. It was a wealth of knowledge. For anybody watching back, please connect with Abdou on Afrinection. And if you're
Awesome.
doing an interview yourself, hit us up. I think we have an email in our bio that you can hit us up at if you are interested in sharing an initiative that you have going on. We'll be here to talk to you about it. Thank you.
Awesome. Thank you so much for having me. And thank you guys for coming in. I'll see you all later.
Bye.